Danny McBride delivers a cathartic, brilliantly absurd series finale for the Righteous Gemstones that is nothing short of divine. The conclusion of the Righteous Gemstones' fourth season offered a masterclass in balancing genre flexibility, raucous vulgarity, and unforgettable performances, elements that made it the perfect counterpoint to HBO's other series about entitled and flawed heirs. McBride's faith-based comedy wraps things up in a manner that's as unpredictable as it is poignant, staying true to the outrageous, irreverent spirit of the show. While it began with a prayer, McBride's final outing also ends with one, finding grace amidst the chaos in a way that is undeniably satisfying. What's fascinating about this final chapter, though, is how McBride made a significant departure from his usual approach. In shows like Eastbound and Down and Vice and Principles, he reveled in the exaggerated flaws of his characters, pushing them to absurd extremes. But in the Righteous Gemstones' finale, there's a noticeable shift. McBride humanizes Jesse, Judy, and Kelvin in ways that elevate them from simple comic archetypes to deeply flawed, vulnerable individuals. And the finale gives us characters who are imperfect, corruptible, and at times downright contemptible, but it also shows them seeking redemption in a way that brings the show full circle, offering us a cathartic send-off that stays true to its comedic roots. However, before we get to that, let's talk about the episode's sharp, dramatic turns, structured as only McBride could. The opening 20 minutes of That Man of God May Be Complete deliver a chaotic mix of final confrontations and personal reckonings. The action kicks off at Cape and Pistol, a familiar haunt, where Jesse, in his usual swagger, relishes his latest conquest. But when Vance Simpkins, in a performance that's equal parts absurd and harrowing, challenges Jesse to a duel, the scene flips the tone into something darker. Vance, now staggering after surviving his own death throes, challenges Jesse to a life-or-death showdown, with all the flair of a low-rent Barry Lyndon reenactment. It's a showdown in the wild world of gemstone antics that goes terribly wrong, forcing Jesse to rely on his father Eli for moral support. Eli's advice is powerful. He tells Jesse that in the family's eyes, he's the better father. The comparison to Gideon, the gemstone family's shining light, is made clear. Jesse may be flawed, but he's still the son that Eli chooses to stand behind. It's a poignant moment, an emotional anchor in the madness. Jesse's honor is on the line, and he takes the duel head-on. However, divine intervention comes in the form of a missed shot from Vance. This near miss signals that perhaps the gemstones, in their chaotic and often destructive ways, have something of the divine working in their favor. Jesse's decision to show mercy, letting Vance live, marks a huge step in his personal growth, despite the random bullet hitting a passing pastor. This act of restraint sets the stage for a series of redemptive acts that follow. Eli, as the spiritual patriarch, has his final word before the title card. When I was a child... Oh, fuck, y'all. A fittingly irreverent send-off for this family who's done everything but lead a straight path to salvation. The theme of growth continues as we move into Kelvin's journey. Fresh off a spiritual awakening and now no longer afraid of spiders or devil's piss, Kelvin proposes to Keith in a moment that could only be described as spectacularly absurd. Gone are the old fears, replaced with an unexpected moment of clarity. Meanwhile, Judy, who has struggled with her own self-worth, chooses compassion over bitterness, even allowing Dr. Watson to visit B. Despite her ongoing resentment, this act of empathy allows her to confront the emotional wall that's kept her distant and confront the trauma that has defined her. The family, seemingly fractured by pride, greed, and resentment, now begins to place each other above all else, shifting their priorities towards familial bonds over money, fame, and even fear. Baby Billy, in a rare show of maturity, decides to return to the wife who always remembered the coleslaw, abandoning the million-dollar teen-jizz venture for the sake of true connection. Even in a world as toxic as the Gemstones, there's still room for growth, but there's one more thread to tie up. Eli's own unfinished business. After receiving a letter from Amy Lee, Eli finds himself at the prayer center stage, ready to confront his past. The kids, sensing his turmoil, gather around him for one last round of closure, setting the stage for the final showdown with Corey. Shen William Scott's portrayal of Corey, the character who's spent much of the season simmering with quiet rage, takes on new intensity. The man who spent the season in the background now demands the family pay for his pain, asking for $7 million. It's a bitter twist. Corey isn't entirely wrong. After all, he